Please remember, this is the Orthodox English according to what I read in Lennon Martin when I was in school. When I came to this management school in the beginning, first time I am coming here, I was reminded of something about which partly I will also talk, about which also some of our Professor Dasulu also talked about, what is nowadays talked about in the concept of what is called the financial inclusion. Now, who exactly started all these things? The originator for this is the founder of Central Bank of India, Saurabh Pachpanawala, way back in 1935. He said that the rural and other people are actually thirsting for services of the banking and the financial services. What we should do as Central Bank, he talked in this public speech. Later on, I am always reminded when I look at this campus by an advertisement which came in the Hindu. Way back in 1985, when Syndicate Bank celebrated its 68th years, as you know, the bank was established here. When the Reserve Bank and the government, whether for financial reasons or political reasons, were insisting that every bank should go rural and try to serve. Here was a bank which made an advertisement. There is one bank that did not go to the village. When the government was asking every bank to go to the village, here was one bank which said there is one bank that did not go to the village because it was born there. This is around this place where I think Syndicate Bank was born. I think that is the spirit which it was started. Unfortunately, to some extent, over a period of time, it has transformed. From its rural settings, it has now gone into a metropolitan setting. That is one aspect. But at the same time, it also reflects another thing. Probably what we call as a brand equity in marketing. That is something which symbolizes. But in the rural is essentially there what you can call as the roots. And they have to also update themselves about today's technology. And therefore they are also present equally in metropolitan. That is probably the reason. Syndicate has primarily migrated out of Manipur into Bangalore. It's also a similar reason, some are coming from marketing. But again with a reference, a sad one. This is regarding to the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay, which is a heritage structure. That heritage structure cannot go above. But at the same time, when they would like to make modern, the next best thing they did was to build Taj Intercontinental adjacent to that. Preserving the old heritage, simultaneously always serving also the modern society, they combine these two, the heritage of Taj, which is their brand equity, and the modernity of Taj Intercontinental, which is a multi-storied building, hotel right across. You can see it right under the gateway of India in Bombay. Now what this has into context today? Part of it which I am talking about, I am talking about marketing and we are talking about market. I slightly digress and indicate a quotation which comes. Capitalism has become more responsive to what we want as individual purchasers of goods, but democracy as a state has grown less responsive to what we want together as citizens. This is a statement attributed to a gentleman called Robert Reich. He is actually a professor of public policy in the university. He was also a former Secretary of Labor in the Clinton administration in USA. He has written a variety of books, and in those books he essentially tries to indicate somewhere along the line we as individuals have surrendered to the consumer culture and given way to the market, and at some point of time the market is determining what we can call as a state policy. That is primary concern of him, that in most of the decisions which are taken by the US government are more driven by the market forces rather than by the needs of the society. That means somewhere along the line, the society got ignored and is worried about it. And the origin for all these things that we as individuals have paid the society. That is, since we did not take any kind of a concrete action towards some of these things which are happening, which creates a distortion in the society. He tries to describe it in form of two books. One is called Super Capitalism. Super capitalism I am using which as a sort of an alternate for market. Citizen, I will use it as an alternate for society. Because ultimately, market is supposed to be something which is responding to the needs, wants, desires, and probably aspirations of the society. Needs are more or less basic, but you will call it the food. Then probably wants, more or less most of the consumer goods to some extent try to satisfy. Desires are something which you would like to have. Normally as an individual, what somebody else has, I would also like to have it, that's a desire. Aspiration is something which I would like to have which nobody else has. The market is supposed to address all this. Consumer goods to some extent takes care of needs and wants, sometimes also creates desires in the mind of the consumer and therefore creates something. In the process, the situation has become so bad. A few days ago, there appeared an article in Economic Times by one of the respected cardiac surgeons. He talked about a medicine which was developed by one of the well-known developed companies. I don't want to take the name of the company, which has developed a medicine for a disease which does not exist. After 15 years now, he has made a confession saying that he helped this company to develop this medicine. This medicine is essentially something which is a neutral medicine, which does not help any problem. Since the medicine has been created with a cost, he has to find a disease for that. And therefore they invented a complicated disease. And there are many people who are willing to buy that disease in USA. And therefore that medicine sold off. By now they have made break even. That is, whatever investment has been made on the research for producing that medicine has now break even. Therefore his conscience is now opened up. And he has now opened up to say that such a disease did not exist. Medicine was created only because of the reason. Simultaneously, why I am talking all about this, we have a situation more or less similar to USA in some form or other. In the last 10 years of what we call as a reform, whether this reform is actually addressing the society or more in response to what is happening elsewhere. And most of these reforms, as one of the well-known economics stylist, who was also with the World Bank economics, he indicates majority of the reforms which are suggested by the World Bank as IMF are more or less Xerox copies of some of the reforms which were suggested to the Asian countries, some of the African countries. Most of the time what they have done, they have replaced the name of the country and given the report. And in some cases, IMF went with this report to the country, already prepared report, and only showed some kind of a, what they call as a survey, and finally offered the report. They were all found out eventually when in the computer system we had a new technology which can identify the replacements, and they found that in some cases they have forgotten to replace the name of the country, and therefore the reports contain the report for the new country as well as some of the old countries which appeared in the old report. That is the status. That type of reform which we try to introduce without adapting to our society. We are talking about only three. I just mentioned only about the four. That is what I have titled my topic: market, state and society. Do they know how to manage emerging India? You have put emerging India. I will call it emerging India in the e-context. Because emerging is what is being done with what you call the Aadhaar card nowadays. It is essentially trying to create an e-identity for every one of us as citizens. And we are the ones who are constituting the society. Unfortunate part of it, whether this technology is going to be beneficial or it is going to be something which is detrimental is a very difficult question. We have two types of things. Technology has an advantage. One advantage, every now and then it goes on updating. But it has a disadvantage that it cannot be stopped. And therefore society will go on looking for newer things. And therefore market will start producing newer things. State has to adapt for that, therefore they also have to adapt. But in the process, what is called as a financial inclusion, at some point of time may become what you call as an intrusion. Instead of inclusion, whether we will have intrusion, that is why the problem will come. And this is what has actually been articulated by one of the respected IT person. I just mentioned his name. His name is Jason Lerner. He is actually the person who created what is called as a virtual reality. What we are talking in our computer classes and other places, what we call as virtual reality. This person has written two books. One book is essentially talking that we are, as humans, are we becoming a gadget? That is, we are almost becoming inhuman. And that is what exactly Einstein said. I will end with that quotation, which is probably important for all the three topics which we are discussing today. Due to paucity of time, sorry, because as you can see, I am a slightly indisciplined person as I look also. So I will take one brief minute from Dr. Joshi and make these quotations, and I will ask you to think over it. Computers are incredibly fast, accurate and stupid. Humans are incredibly slow, inaccurate and brilliant. Together they are powerful beyond imagination. And I feel at some point of time, the power of the computers could develop into another superpower in the hands of some hyper-intelligent members of the mankind. And that might have a dual potential, meant to be used for the welfare of the society, but also capable of even accidentally inflicting a serious damage on the society, as it happened in the case of nuclear fusion, which he himself invented. Thank you.